Which basic knowledge did you totally forget for a moment? Not long after my daughter was born, I took her to a meet-up with friends. I put her car seat next to another baby in the group. Then, sitting down, I asked the mom across from me how it was having twins. I completely forgot that one of those babies was mine. I was just starting a new school in 9th grade and had to write an essay about myself that the other kids in the class would read. I forgot how to spell pants and wrote pants. I was ordering hot wings at a local barbecue joint. I was wondering if they still came with a fibrous green vegetable but couldn't remember the name. Ended up describing it to the cashier and she looks at me weird and says, "You mean celery?" Ugh. Yes, that's what I meant. The word scissors means surgery. Normally we call them mets, for Metzenbaum scissors, but we had a new student as the scrub tech and I went to ask for mets. Asked a few times. Tried to remember the word scissors. Failed. Referred to them as sniffies and did a little finger scissors motion. Looking like an idiot in front of the doctor. At least it worked and I got my scissors. Tied a tie for church one morning. Nice. Symmetrical knot. But I got it a little too short on the first try. No big deal. I always do that. I'll just tie it. Ag wait. How do you even tie a tie? Had to YouTube it after having just done it literally the moment before. When speaking in a second language, how to say literally every single word of the entire language. And it happens at the exact moment that someone asks me a question. Every time. When I was a senior in college, I spent several minutes longer than I should have thinking that onion was spelled the same as union, and wondering how people could tell the difference in writing. I was out boogie boarding in the ocean when it started raining. No thunder. And you're wet anyway. So who cares? But I put my board over my head so I can see a bit better. And I noticed the sound of the rain hitting the board and think, wow, that sounds just like a rain stick. The rain sounds like a rain stick. I forget what a washing machine is called at least once a month. I end up calling it a clothes washer out of desperation. People laugh at me every time. Sad face. How to tie my shoes. I just sorta spaced out and stared blankly for a few seconds wondering what in the hell I was supposed to do. I forgot my own birthday a few times. Just didn't seem too important till someone asked and I was like, if this counts, but one day I forgot how to say carrot in my native language. Back in the times of printing out driving directions, I mixed up left and right once and I ended up some 2 hours away from my destination. I was 16 with no cell phone and extremely socially awkward. So it took a lot of courage to ask a gas station attendant how to get back to my city. A couple friends were waiting at my house when I got there. They said they thought I died or was kidnapped or something. I often confuse the windshield wiper toggle with a turn signal. I'll be preparing to make a turn and then /bam/ windshield wipers start going nuts. I blanked on my own name once. I was shaking hands with someone and my brain just died for a moment. I presented myself as my friend's name, then I just stood there quietly with my broken thoughts as my friend had to tell me what my actual name was. It was such a confusing situation. Don't know if this counts, but I forgot the password I set for my phone not even a second after setting it. Sad part is I never remembered it and got my phone disabled. I forgot how to swallow. I was eating a steak at a diner. One of those steak and eggs breakfast platters. So you know it's not the best steak. It was tough and impossible to swallow. My esophagus was so pissed. It forgot how to swallow for about a day. I would try to eat but could not remember how. My tongue would press against the roof of my mouth and that's all that would happen. The next day I had a hot tea and that fixed it. I once forgot how to count in the only language I have, and had to stare at the blackboard for a few seconds trying to remember. I have a psychotic disorder, so this sort of thing happens a lot. But just yesterday I had my hand on my desk and I couldn't tell which finger I was moving. That was kinda weird. I knew there were 50 states in the US, but I said 52 when asked for a trivia game. Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. Once I was having dinner with my new girlfriend's family for the first time, and I forgot what a potato was. During an HS history exam, I forgot how to spell Jesus. Got a 97 on the test cause lost 3 points how to spell it. It wasn't a religious test or school. Just from that time period. The red marked who? -3 made me quite embarrassed though. I once forgot what rain was called. I was super tired and in the process of going to bed. I asked my wife, is it supposed to ugh? What's it called? You know when the water falls from the sky. My wife goes, is it supposed to rain tomorrow? Is that what you're asking? To this day rain is referred to as water falling from the sky instead of rain. I cut my finger and grabbed a paper towel to cover it up. Thought it was terribly inconvenient to just hold it there. Asterisk, but what if there was some adhesive substance to hold this stuff in place? Asterisk, grabbed some duct tape, wrapped the paper towel in it, and stuck the rest to the lower part of my finger. Asterisk, tada. Asterisk, man. I'm brilliant. My mom looked at me like, what the duck are you doing? I then realized I had invented the Band-Aid, while never being more than 3 feet from a pack of the genuine article this entire time. I read, silently to myself, a sentence that went something like, no one knows what they had been doing in there, and my brain's internal narrator mispronounced the word doing as a perfect rhyme for boing, you know. Like a comic book sound effect. Doing. No distractions. No background noise. Just suddenly I forgot how an extremely common word is pronounced. Went to the doctor's office with my dad to get my medical records and they had to ask me some questions. They asked me my birthday and I just looked at my dad like, get this one for me, cause for the life of me I could not remember. I was 16 to 17 at the time. Sometimes I forget how to get to places where I have driven many times before. I will look on Google Maps and then slap my head. Duh. You idiot, and then drive right there. I've played Pokemon so much for so many years, since it came out, that sometimes I forget the word for things like caterpillar because my brain goes for caterpillar instead. One time at science class my teacher asked this really tricky question. I answered it right, but then she asked me how many minutes an hour has, and the only numbers I could recall were 45 and 64, Minecraft stack. I forgot what the word mud was. I was at work and some sterile product got delivered to us covered in mud. This makes the product no longer sterile and I have to send it back and inform my boss. I sent her a text and say the product was covered in liquid dirt. It wasn't until hours later when I mentioned the issue to a coworker and he looked at me dumbfounded and said, you mean mud? It was at that moment I realized how stupid I was. Brownie points because my boss knows now too. That there are 60 minutes in an hour and 100 centimeters in a meter instead of the opposite. I forgot that Rice Krispies make that noise when you add milk and scared the hell out of myself when I poured a bowl. I had a weird thing once when a colleague needed my password, and the very simple process of having to speak it and not use finger memory to type it made me forget it. I had been typing it every morning for about a year through finger memory. I had to go to IT and explain how I'd forgotten it after a year. A couple weeks ago I forgot what the blender was called, so I just pointed at it and yelled, food destroyer. I forgot what bread was called once, so I referred to it as raw toast. Not my proudest moment. Was in a mall. Wanted to go to higher floors. Saw an escalator and stepped on it. Realized it was a going down escalator after being pushed back down a couple times. I was in my early 20s. Some salespeople nearby stared at me funny. I put my shoes in a very specific place, and this morning I was looking around for them. 10 minutes later I found them in the living room for some reason. I was eating some pancakes at IHOP the other day and I was like, God, what is wrong with these pancakes? Every bite is hurting my throat and stomach. Oh yeah, that's right. They are frickin' hot. Where the ducking milk went. Just stood there for a moment and wondered where we keep the milk.